So on Tulsi Gabbard's last day of Director of National Intelligence, before she walks out the door, she releases documents that proves Anthony Fauci lied under oath. She released documents that detailed his conversations he had with other people. He did fund to the tune of millions of dollars for the gain of function research in the Wuhan lab. And so, yes, and it is a conspiracy, by the way. The way he lied, what he said, how he profited off of basically millions of people dying as a result of the policies that were advocated by him. This so-called expert, where we had the government shutdowns, we had shutdowns of a lot of things. At that time, I lost my job and ended up having to start my own business after that, which I guess is a blessing in disguise. But it put me under a lot of stress. And like I said, it killed millions of people. There's been studies that have been done, I believe in Germany and elsewhere, where the shutdowns, the disruptions, the economic disruptions, the institutional disruptions actually killed more people than the virus itself did. And on top of that, I don't know if this research takes this into account, but the amount of deaths from COVID, as I'm sure my audience would know, were way overstated also. People dying of the flu, people dying from a car accident that happened to have had the coronavirus was listed as death by the coronavirus. So there's a lot of fraud that was involved in this. We're talking about a huge transfer of power and wealth to a handful of elites. You're talking about people acting like sheep. Anywhere from policymakers, people in Congress that supposedly took his advice seriously. Now, granted, a lot of these were probably people that were just going along with it because they were profiting from it. From the inside trading, they were going to buy a bunch of stocks in Big Pharma and dump their stocks in hospitality, for example. But not only that, but we're talking about a transfer of power and wealth because people surrendered to the system without critical examination. And this is the really scary part. This is something that our founding fathers would be rolling in their graves if they were cognizant of what happened. We're talking about the complete disruption, essentially violation of people's rights with the assumption of instead of you're innocent until you're proven guilty, you're assumed guilty and you had to work to prove yourself innocent. This is the epistemology, the root thought process, the philosophic thought process of a totalitarian system. That everybody's guilty and have to prove themselves innocent. I mean, you think of the Cultural Revolution in China, for example, or Stalinist Russia, to get that kind of thought process. Or imagine Nazi Germany, where you have to prove yourself to be Aryan, to be considered to be fully human. So, yes, Fauci lied under oath. Unfortunately, criminal charges probably will not be pressed against him because the statute of limitations charges should have been pressed. The fact that our government doesn't do that, we have people in Congress that should have done this. The fact that they haven't done this shows you who they're working for, okay? Special interests. The solution to all this is learn how to think for yourself. I can tell you personally, given in the state of Florida, not a lot of people followed this stupidness. But I remember walking to a Walmart during the height of the whole COVID thing, and I was in an urban area. I was in Orlando. And walking in there, and they were like, "Oh, you got to wear your mask. You got to wear your mask." I said, do I really have to? And I just blew them off and kept walking. There was another lady, and it was like, "Well, you're not wearing a mask." I was like, "No, I'm not." And she goes, "Do you really have to?" And I was like, "No, you don't have to wear a mask." And so she took her mask off. So I'm leading by example. You have to develop an independent capacity. Learn how to think for yourself. Use that as a lead by example so that other people do it, so we don't get what we got with the whole COVID shutdown.